If these days your mind feels scattered, if it's hard to focus, if you feel tired without knowing exactly why, it's not because you're failing. It's because the year is coming to an end, and no one ever taught us how to walk through this moment with clarity. Today, we're not going to talk about motivation. We're not going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about something more important: how not to lose yourself this week. If you can keep your mind steady now, the days ahead won't drag you down. And once you've learned this, we'll take the next step together: how to speak to yourself in a way that heals, and how to finally understand what your mind really needs. Because clarity is only the beginning. Self-guidance is what transforms it into strength. December doesn't exhaust the body. December exhausts the mind. And it does it quietly. There's nothing dramatic about it. No single event you can point to. No clear reason you can easily explain. You just wake up one day feeling off. Less sharp, more distracted, more sensitive, more tired than you should be. And most people make the same mistake at this point. They assume something is wrong with them. But nothing is wrong with you. What's happening is structural. Throughout the year, your life is held together by routine, schedules, repetition, predictability. Even if you don't love your routine, it gives your mind something essential: edges. Structure tells the mind where to begin and where to stop. December slowly removes those edges. Work either slows down or becomes chaotic. Sleep schedules change. People disappear or suddenly reappear. Days blur together. Weekdays start feeling like weekends. That's why so many people say, "I don't know why I'm thinking so much lately," or "I don't know why everything feels heavier this time of year." You're not confused. You're understructured. And when structure disappears, judgment turns inward. You start replaying the year: what you did, what you didn't do, what you tolerated, what you lost, what didn't turn out the way you hoped. Not intentionally, not consciously. It just happens. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology put names to it. They knew that when life slows down, the mind speeds up, and they warned about a specific danger: mistaking mental activity for truth. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it deserves authority. But December thoughts feel convincing because they come wrapped in fatigue. Fatigue lowers resistance. When you're tired, every thought feels heavier. Every regret feels more important. Every comparison feels more personal. This is where most people turn against themselves. They start saying things like, "I should be further by now. I wasted too much time. Next year has to be different. I can't keep doing this." Pay attention to that language. Should, must, have to. That's not reflection. That's prosecution. You're not reviewing your year. You're putting yourself on trial. The Stoic doesn't do that. Not because the Stoic avoids responsibility, but because responsibility without clarity turns into self-destruction. There's a difference between honest evaluation and emotional self-attack. December pushes people into the second one. And if you don't recognize what's happening, you start believing the story your tired mind is telling you. Let me be very clear about this. The thoughts you have at the end of the year are not more honest than the ones you had in the middle of the year. They are simply less filtered, less protected by routine, less balanced by momentum, less interrupted by action. That doesn't make them wiser. It makes them louder. This is why people make bad decisions in December. They quit things they shouldn't quit. They cling to things they should release. They make promises they don't understand. They judge their entire life based on a temporary mental state. The Stoics had a word for this. They called it confusing impressions with reality. An impression is how something appears to you in a moment. Reality is what remains after examination. December is full of impressions. A Stoic doesn't suppress them. He slows them down. He says, "Just because my mind is busy doesn't mean my life is broken." This is the first grounding truth you need for this week. Feeling mentally scattered at the end of the year is not a personal failure. It's a predictable human response to the loss of structure. Once you understand that something important happens, you stop panicking about how you feel. And when panic leaves, clarity has space to return. That's why this video exists. Not to motivate you, not to inspire you, not to hype you up, but to give your mind edges again, because clarity doesn't come from emotion, it comes from order. And before we talk about what to do, we need to talk about what not to expect from this week, because this is where people go wrong. They expect to feel good, and that expectation alone creates unnecessary suffering. This is not a week to feel good. It's a week to stay solid. This is where most people misunderstand this time of year. They think something is wrong because they don't feel good. They expect peace, they expect motivation, they expect clarity, and when they don't feel those things, they assume they're failing. But this week was never meant to feel good. It was meant to be steady. There's a difference. Feeling good depends on emotion. Being solid depends on character. And December is not an emotional month. It's a transitional one. Transitions are uncomfortable by nature. Nothing is settled, nothing is clear yet. Old routines are fading, new ones haven't formed. So if you expect comfort here, you will suffer unnecessarily. The Stoics were very clear about this. They never promised comfort, they promised strength. And strength shows up most clearly when comfort disappears. This is why chasing a good feeling this week is a mistake, because you end up fighting reality. You wake up tired and think, I shouldn't feel like this. You feel distracted and think, I need to fix my mindset. You feel heavy and think, something is wrong with me. But nothing is wrong. You are simply between phases, and the mind hates being between, so it looks for something to grab onto. It grabs onto emotions, it grabs onto nostalgia, it grabs onto regret, it grabs onto urgency. And when people don't understand this, they start doing unnecessary things. They overthink, they overplan, they overpromise. They try to reinvent themselves while mentally exhausted. That's why so many people burn out before the year even ends. The Stoic approach is different. A Stoic asks one simple question: what is required of me right now? Not next month, not next year, right now. And the answer this week is not transformation, it's stability. This is a week for containment, for holding your ground without trying to conquer anything, for doing what is necessary without demanding it feel good. The Stoics believed that peace comes after order, not before it. You don't wait to feel calm to act properly. You act properly, and calm follows when it can. That changes how you approach your days. Instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this what needs to be done? That single shift removes pressure, because now your worth is no longer tied to your emotional state. You can feel tired and still be disciplined. You can feel distracted and still be present. You can feel heavy and still act with dignity. This is what it means to stay solid, not rigid, not cold, solid. Like a structure that doesn't collapse just because the weather changes. Another mistake people make this week is trying to resolve everything internally. They think, if I could just understand myself better, everything would settle. But clarity doesn't come from digging endlessly inward. It comes from anchoring outward, from simple actions, from routine, from limits. The Stoics warned against excessive introspection when the mind is already unstable, because reflection without boundaries turns into rumination, and rumination doesn't heal, it drains. This is why this week, you don't need deep answers, you need simple ones. What time do I wake up? What do I need to do today? What can wait? These questions ground the mind. They bring it back to the present. They shrink the chaos into something manageable. Staying solid also means accepting that you won't feel resolved yet. You don't need closure this week. You need composure. Closure is a luxury. Composure is a necessity. The Stoics didn't try to finish life emotionally before continuing it practically. They kept moving, even when clarity lagged behind. So, if this week feels emotionally unfinished, good. That means you're not forcing false conclusions. You're letting things unfold at their proper pace. This is strength, quiet strength, and it's rare. Most people are trying to escape discomfort. You're learning how to stand inside it without letting it define you. That's why this week matters. Not because it feels good, but because it trains you to remain yourself when things are unsettled. And that skill will serve you long after this year ends. What not to think about this week. One of the most important skills you can develop is knowing when not to think. Most people believe thinking more will eventually bring clarity. But clarity doesn't come from volume. It comes from precision. And this week, precision means restraint. There are thoughts that feel urgent right now but are actually harmful if you engage them. So in this block, we're not going to talk about what to focus on. We're going to talk about what to deliberately leave alone. Because mental discipline is not about control, it's about selection. The Stoics were very clear about this. They didn't try to answer every thought. They chose which ones deserved their attention. Everything else was allowed to pass. The first thing you should not think about this week is your entire life. This sounds obvious, but people do it constantly. They take a tired moment and turn it into a life verdict. They ask questions like, am I on the right path? Did I waste too much time? Is this really who I am? Those are not bad questions. They're just badly timed. A question asked from fatigue doesn't produce wisdom. It produces distortion. You wouldn't evaluate a building while it's shaking. So don't evaluate your life while your mind is unstable. This week is not for life conclusions. It's for maintenance. Another thing you should not think about this week is how far ahead or behind other people are. Comparison becomes especially aggressive in December. You see other people resting, celebrating, achieving, moving on, and your mind immediately turns it into measurement. They're ahead. I'm late. They figured it out. I didn't. But comparison ignores context. You don't know their cost. You don't know their timeline. You don't know what they sacrificed to appear calm or successful right now. The Stoics warned that comparison is a form of voluntary suffering. You choose it. And worse, it distracts you from your only real responsibility, handling your own position well. This week, comparison adds nothing. It only drains focus, so you don't argue with it. You disengage. Another thought to avoid this week is the urge to fix everything. When the year ends, unfinished things feel louder. Unresolved conversations, delayed decisions, loose ends. Your mind starts telling you that everything must be resolved before the year ends. That's an illusion. Time doesn't work that way. The calendar changing doesn't demand emotional closure. Forcing resolution too early often creates worse outcomes. The Stoics understood patience as a form of strength. They didn't rush clarity. They allowed it to mature. Some things will not be resolved this week. And that's not failure, that's reality. Another trap thought this week is mistaking pause for regression. You feel slower, less driven, less intense, and you think, I'm losing momentum. But slowing down is not the same as falling behind. Sometimes the system reduces speed to preserve integrity. Just like a machine under strain, the human mind adjusts pace to avoid breakdown. This week, reduced intensity is not weakness. It's self-regulation. The Stoics respected limits. They didn't confuse endurance with recklessness. They knew when to push and when to hold. One more thought to leave alone this week is the idea that you need a plan right now. Planning feels productive, but when the mind is cluttered, planning becomes fantasy. You start designing futures you don't yet have the clarity to support. That leads to disappointment. The Stoic approach is simple. Don't plan from chaos. Stabilize first. Plans made from stability are fewer but stronger. This week is not for mapping next year. It's for making sure you arrive there intact. And finally, do not interpret emotional heaviness as truth. Emotions are information, not conclusions. Feeling heavy doesn't mean your life is heavy. Feeling tired doesn't mean you're incapable. Feeling uncertain doesn't mean you're lost. It means you're human at the end of a demanding cycle. The Stoics never denied emotion. They just refused to let emotion define reality. That distinction matters, especially this week, because if you reduce the number of thoughts you engage with, something interesting happens. Your mind starts to settle on its own, not because you forced it, but because you stopped interfering. That's discipline, not controlling thought, but choosing silence when silence is wiser. And once the noise lowers, we can finally talk about what actually is under your control. But that comes next. What is actually under your control this week? Once you stop engaging with unnecessary thoughts, something becomes very clear. Your world gets smaller, and that's not a limitation, that's power, because control doesn't exist at the level of life. It exists at the level of actions. The Stoics were obsessed with this distinction. They didn't ask, how do I fix everything? They asked, what is mine to govern right now? So let's make this concrete. This week, what is under your control is your daily structure. Not your motivation, not your mood, not your energy, your structure. You control when you wake up. You control the first thing you expose your mind to. You control how much chaos you allow into your morning. That alone shapes your entire day. A scattered morning creates a scattered mind. The Stoics treated mornings as sacred not because they were spiritual, but because they were strategic. This week, don't aim for a perfect routine. Aim for a repeatable one. Wake up, wash your face, sit in silence for 5 minutes, no phone, no input. That silence is not empty, it's a reset. Another thing under your control this week is how you speak to yourself when things feel heavy. Not what you feel, how you interpret it. When discomfort appears, you have a choice. You can say, this is unbearable, or you can say, this is uncomfortable but manageable. The Stoics were precise with language because language shapes perception. Changing one sentence changes the entire experience. This week, speak to yourself like a steady guide, not a dramatic narrator. Another thing fully under your control is your exposure. What you watch, what you scroll, what you listen to. Your mind absorbs tone even when you think you're unaffected. Constant noise keeps the nervous system activated. The Stoics practiced voluntary reduction, less input, less reaction, more clarity. This week, reduce stimulation on purpose. You don't need to quit everything. Just create windows of quiet, especially at night. Another thing under your control is how you end your day. Most people collapse into sleep without closure. Their mind carries the day unfinished. The Stoics believed in closing the day consciously, not judging it, reviewing it. At night, ask yourself 3 things. What did I do well today? Where did I lose control? What can I adjust tomorrow? No guilt, no drama, just data. That practice alone builds self-respect. Another thing under your control is physical regulation. Your body is not separate from your mind. If you don't move, the mind stagnates. You don't need intensity. You need circulation, a walk, stretching, breathing deeply. The Stoics trained their bodies because they understood mental strength requires a regulated nervous system. This week, move every day, even briefly. Another thing under your control is your boundaries, especially emotional ones. You don't owe explanations for your pace. You don't owe energy you don't have. You don't owe participation in every conversation. The Stoics were not cold. They were selective. They protected their inner state because they understood its value. This week, say no quietly, without justification. And finally, what is under your control is your intention, not your outcome. You don't control how this year is judged. You don't control how others remember it. You don't control what January brings, but you control how you show up this week, with steadiness, with restraint, with dignity. That's enough. The Stoics believe that a well-governed moment is never wasted. So if this week you wake up with order, reduce noise, move your body, speak to yourself with clarity, and close your day consciously, you are already winning, not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. And that kind of victory lasts. As the holidays approach, something shifts inside people. The days look festive on the outside, but internally, things get heavier. Memories surface. Absences become louder. Expectations increase. The Stoics understood something crucial about moments like this. External celebrations don't cancel internal realities, and they never demanded that they should. You are not required to feel joyful just because the calendar says so. You are allowed to feel neutral, quiet, reflective, even distant. This week and in the days ahead, your goal is not happiness, it's steadiness, because steadiness survives anything. Many people suffer during the holidays because they resist what they feel. They tell themselves, I should be happier, I should be grateful, I shouldn't feel this way. That internal resistance creates more pain than the emotion itself. The Stoics practiced acceptance without surrender. They allowed feelings to exist without letting them dominate behavior. If sadness appears, you don't feed it stories, you acknowledge it and you stay upright. Another thing the holidays tend to trigger is the sense of absence. People you miss, versions of life that didn't happen, moments that won't return. This is where Stoicism becomes deeply compassionate. The Stoics didn't deny loss. They reminded themselves that everything we love is on loan and that awareness doesn't cheapen love. It deepens it. Missing someone is not a weakness, it's evidence of connection. But connection doesn't require collapse. You can honor what mattered without falling apart. This season, don't force yourself to relive memories, but don't suppress them either. Let them pass through you like weather. Another pressure during the holidays is social performance. Being present, being cheerful, being available. The Stoics were clear. Your inner state is more important than social expectations. You are allowed to step back, to leave early, to protect your energy. Presence doesn't mean exhaustion, it means intention. If you choose to be with others, be there fully. If you choose solitude, honor it. Solitude is not failure, it's maintenance. The Stoics valued solitude because it restores alignment. As the year closes, you may feel tempted to judge yourself harshly, to measure success, to replay mistakes, to rewrite outcomes. This is where Stoicism asks for restraint. Judgment freezes you in the past. Reflection prepares you for the future. There's a difference. Instead of asking, was this a good year? Ask, what did this year teach me about myself? That question is quieter, but far more useful. And finally, as you move into these final days of the year, remember this. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You are exactly where you are supposed to be given what you've carried. The Stoics believe that dignity is not found in outcomes. It's found in how you stand while passing through difficulty. So if all you do this week is stay steady, protect your mind, and move forward without self-betrayal, that is enough, more than enough. The year does not end with fireworks, it ends with breath. And if you can breathe calmly through this moment, you are already prepared for what comes next.